Thank you once again. I like saying thank you because I think it's a privilege to have guests on this podcast where we share things about sports around the globe, issues, and all that. So, today we will look at overcoming adversities, but our main focus is going to be on sport activism and humanitarian services. And we discussed this with, I think you want to know the name. No, I'll just wait a little so that our guest explain or introduces herself. So the nature of the discussion will hinge on providing sport education and insights with regards to the following topical issues, not the following topical issues, but rather what I just mentioned about sport activism and humanitarian service. And our guest is a sport activist, an administrator, and a former participant of the United Nations Young Leaders Program. And I beg your pardon, she will introduce herself shortly. So over to you.
Hello, beautiful all. This is Romee Giri from Nepal. And as our colleague Derek mentioned me, I have a very wide area of introductions in a different field. So here, properly, I was a young leader to United Nations, former in 2014 to from 2014 to 2016, and I had worked. As a taekwondo is my basic sports, I had worked up to the World Taekwondo in my sports career, working as a Taekwondo Cares project in charge. And besides that, I am recognized as an activist. Before that, I'm an administrator, an athlete, a national referee, and so many things actually. So I'm involved in sports with in different areas. So gradually improving myself. Today I'm officially a sports administrator, and I'm recognized as the first female Olympic speaker to Nepal as well. And I use sports as a tool to educate people and motivate and improving glass ceilings and correcting stereotypes in the society, community, and maybe hopefully the nation in the future. Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
my
think
introduction.
that's very brief. But I'll just ask some specific question. If you could tell us about your educational journey, particularly from the bachelor's. Often people want to know what you did at the university and then at the master's level and on and on. So could you tell us a little bit about it?
For educations, right? From educations, my bachelor degree, I got it from Nepal. It's a business administration. And out of that, I had an MBA from, which is affiliated to Lincoln University, Malaysia. And that is a master in business administration. Likewise, in sports, I have a master in sports management from Team Together Master Program, and it's a Seoul National University, and we both are alumni to it, of course. And that is my academic degree, and yeah.
Yep. I guess you've spoken about Taekwondo and you are fourth dan, I guess. That's
Right.
that's interesting. I guess people will not have to mess up with you because you got to give them some cakes. Anyway, that's just by the way. But in short, if someone asks, who is Romee and what does she love to do? What will be your response in brief?
In brief,
Yeah.
I would love to say I'm a very simple human beings actually. My short introductions is very simply, simple human beings I would like to recognize with out of all the societal tags I have earned throughout the process. And I believe in action. Rumi is somebody who believes in taking action, direct communication, a humble soul, and a believer and an influencer to the many women and young generations. And shortly, yeah.
Well, there you go. So it's great to have that from you to share your values and that beam across the world and the various international platforms that you've been with all your smiles and sometimes quite serious, depending on what you're talking about. Anyway, before we move on to the main discussion, which is becoming active and activist, amidst all the things that you do, what is your hobby? Do you have any hobby? Do you have anything you do during your leisure to share with us? And that's beyond Taekwondo. So Taekwondo is out of the picture. Yeah.
So beyond the taekwondo, yeah, I love listening music. I love doing dance after taekwondo, right? So at first, definitely, I'm connected to sports, and that is taekwondo because you can't believe, like my whole family is in taekwondo. My younger sister, my brother, my uncle, and all the cousins. We are 11 siblings. We meet two siblings and 11 cousins in my house, and we all are taekwondo person. So that what attracts me towards taekwondo.
Yep, that's interesting over there. Singing and Taekwondo. I wanted to take Taekwondo off, but Taekwondo comes in again.
Comes
So
in
you should
again.
know that that's a passion for it. Well, so
Right.
our discussion would hinge on being an activist. But the difference
Mhm.
about those in sports is the fact that first you have to become active with the sport and then you become an activist. So that's kind of the things that kind of characterize and makes people like you. And then if you know him, Umer, who is also a social sports activist, stand out from the main or the general activism. So why, if I may ask, I mean, sport management is a broad field. You could still continue with Taekwondo if you want. You could still go into the MBA. But why did you dedicate much of your time to select a career in sports activism?
Interesting questions, right? Well, starting and talking about my career, I have to say, yeah, today I'm recognized as an activist, but long ago, like generations of young girls admire one woman. I have to start this way. And of course, I was not a model and I was not a Barbie doll, right? Like to be in the flourish this way. And I was a simple athlete and who became the first female Olympic speaker for Nepal on the Olympic level of my time. I mean, it's a 2016 Rio Olympic flaming events, and I was a young leader to United Nations, and I represented all the 601 young leaders from United Nations in sports, and of course, I represented World Taekwondo as an athlete. Like my involvement in Taekwondo is a long process and was not an easy journey, right? So the term best is not over the like generalizations and or gender specific terms by a very quantitative values that is existed, and it was a best moment and must have to say a turning point as well of my career, of my level. From that point I came to a decision that I should do something different and I can do it. That was a
Oh,
confidence I earned throughout that events.
yeah.
So
So
I,
yeah, I beg your pardon. Sorry, please continue.
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's how I continued, and I find it very unique. Actually, everyone is interested in to be a medalist. Everyone is, I find, actually, they're doing active participations and referee. They're doing so many things, but they are not using like very few are using sports as educational tools
Yeah,
that can improve the beautiful like result in the community and society and nations and in a global forum, right?
yeah,
So that factors attracted me, that factors. And as I'm a with sports, I was a very curious person, you know.
yeah,
Like if somebody tell me you should not do it, I became a curious why I should not do it. And the word why is always in my mind until the answer and actions of somebody convinced me well. So I keep on doing this until and unless it results me in a very satisfactory way. So this is how I choose to be an activist. And actually, my target was not to be an activist. My target was just to use sports as an educating tool to the community where the perception is like where there is a gender stereotypes, where there is a glass ceilings for a woman. Because as a woman, very few are so lucky to choose their directions of a life, you know. And in South Asian, the culture is cultural boundaries is so high, so why not?
Yep.
And at the end of the time, at the young mind studied, and one day I went to the like funeral of one of my relatives, and that day I decided like why not to die in peace without any like greed of next life, you know, as we are taught religiously. And okay, let's use, as I'm a sports person, I would choose to use sports and use it properly, educating women's and young generations to live life properly. And we all know that sports can be a beautiful tool to live properly and like promoting peace, right?
Yep.
Peace and development.
Yep.
So that is how I changed my mind and I choose to be who I am today.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. That was your turning point. But it's clear that you were already an active person in sports, and that's a taekwondo. And I'm not sure, but by my checks, I know in April 2015 there was a very massive earthquake in Nepal. And as a sports person myself, following the issues with the World Taekwondo Federation playing an interesting role.
Right.
There was one thing that stand out, and that was a young lady who played an active role in that. Can you tell us a little
True.
bit about how you got involved with this, how your activism sparked in this whole issue, connecting Taekwondo's humanitarian services to in Nepal in this way?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, in 2015 there was a massive earthquake, right? There was a loss of many lives. There was a loss of so mental loss, physical loss, social loss, environmental loss, so many loss, everywhere loss. And as a developing countries, to recover was really like sportly was not possible. Gradually, we improved. Meanwhile, Taekwondo, our president, Dr. Chungwong Choto, took that initiations to promote sports as a tools to peace, and they planned a humanitarian project, and I was one of the part of it to be the part of it as well, and I contributed with them, being with them and supporting them, using Taekwondo as a common era. At that time, there was a financial donations from Nepal Taekwondo. I'm sorry, through Nepal Taekwondo associations and by World Taekwondo Federation, and there was many other support like Taekwondo promotions. From since then, there is always a Taekwondo Cares project like while I was in World Taekwondo, I worked as a Taekwondo Cares program in charge, and I worked for three projects. That is like Road to Champion for Sri Lanka, and that is like women empowerment and Taekwondo reformatory units for Nepal, and gender equality in Saudi Arabia through taekwondo, and that I think that plays a significant role in the society, global society actually, using tools as a part of peace.
Yep.
And yeah, that is how I started, and I love contributing actually. Like I would not be active if I would be feeling like lazy and sleeping all the time, if I would enjoy that. But for me the thing is like I can't, like if I even sleep, then my body slept and taking rest, my mind is not. I don't know it is issues or what, but I'm so active with these things, and
Yeah.
that gradually I find myself actively taking an actions at the earthquake as well. I call my seniors that I find in social media that he's contributing for the victim, like earthquake victim people, and I call him in the next day that I want to contribute in your support, and I call him and I went immediately taking some foods and like some solving materials for them. So this is how I can't keep quiet
Yeah.
with
Anyway, so
actions.
that's why I ask of your hobby. In any case, I think it's very important to have some rest in this very engaging and active field. Um, Thank you for sharing that. I know it's a very delicate and touchy thing that happened in the life of Nepal. And as I watched the videos and the loss of lives, I was thinking of whether to even bring it, but I feel it's also important for young people out there, especially women, to know your story, how the role you play, and how you stand out. I was far away, but I could see the contributions from World Taekwondo, and you always come into the picture when they do that. So my next question is this: what have been the focus of your activism, in the sense that you've mentioned gender, and
Mhm.
you've also mentioned the earthquake, which is part of disaster and the rule of sport. Are there any other areas that you focus beyond gender and then the
Right,
yeah
contributing right now. Actually, I focus on something that is based on the situations,
yeah
needs. I don't focus something that is already there, or I love to do something differently, or same thing in a different manner, right? So in that term, like whatever comes in front, I will try to find the solutions on it, and that is how I involve in several projects in a different manner. So besides, as while talking about the sports, I'm involved in, as you said, why not MBA? As you said, like why not Taekwondo? I'm taking it in a balance equally. I'm utilizing my MBA skills at the same time, and yeah, with the face as a in front of public, I'm a sports face. So maybe you will find me more everywhere in the sports, but equally I'm involved all areas, prioritizing the needs of the situation. And these days, my priority is mostly importantly for a woman, because, as I told you at the beginning, my journey towards the taekwondo from as a general grassroots level athlete to the like being an international face was not easy. There was so many social hurdles, organizational hurdles, or issues created by miscommunications and so much mental trauma. I have to say that,
yeah
unfortunately. And that situations was not easy, and with the grace of God, I will succeed to finalize that and settle the issues in the right way, and my voice was addressed properly through
yeah
this force. This is how I started to initiate and advocate a women word. And like you may find me everywhere speaking about women and this and that, because I find it is really important at this time. Because even though in the developed countries, very few people, very few women's leaders are there, and throughout the process of our thesis, I figured out that the number of women's leaders in the world is very few. Most of them are, and it is highly, I was wondered, even in the developed countries, it was practiced that women are mostly for kitchens, women are mostly for having only a social life, and social responsibilities has placed a very negative role on their career approach, career
yeah
positioning. And I was thinking this is only in developing countries like Nepal and South Asian countries and all. But meanwhile, with that research process, I figured out that was not true. It's everywhere in the world. It means it's a not only common issues, it is very important issues that we really, really need to take an action. And with that, I'm very lively throughout the process, because first thing, I'm a woman. Second thing, I'm from the developing countries. Third thing, like I am a woman who is active and career oriented, So I must take actions and initiations advocating women. So this is how women empowerment projects started from Nepal through World Taekwondo. This is how gender equality in Saudi Arabia project started through World Taekwondo.
Yeah.
So, like I believe, and I'm trying to work on my belief through the different areas I can, putting a different role from top to bottom, and still I'm going through it. And this last since the when I was career throughout the turning as a sports administrator, there was a
Yeah.
belief that women cannot be a sports administrator, and the scope of area was only focused to be a medalist. Even though they want to be a administrator or manager, there was no way. In my country, with this role, I figure out so many ways for younger generations. Now
Yeah.
they can decide, oh, I can be a sports manager as well. I can be an administrator as well. And with the education, I'm the second person to get a official degree of sports management in my country. Before there's a Rita Prajapati, you know that, you know
Yeah.
her, right? Yeah,
Yep.
she's our colleague as well, TTM. And lithium gives a feelings of siblinghoodness, wherever you are. That's how I feel. And
Yep.
yeah, we are the so this is how I started going through the process, and I believe it will continue in the future, and I will be able to continue this theme as a priority, including other theme as well. But I will prioritize these things because, yeah, I told you it's a very important issues to be taken actions right now.
Yep. Yes, so you have it. I think the focus here, as Romy highlighted, is her focus mainly is the gender, particularly on women, but she's also open to situational issues that comes out in her activism work. So that's quite interesting. And there's one thing that comes out every time with this field, unlike other sporting field, like team management, like being a sports administrator. I know you're a sports administrator alongside, but in the activism work that you do, besides the World Taekwondo Federation, how do you go about this in terms of finances? Do you get support?
Yeah, regarding the funds, actually, firstly, I'm as a besides the thing, as I'm a consultant to the Ministry of Youth and Sports
Okay.
right now. Of course, there is a government fund directly involved,
Yeah.
and most of the time, if we want, there are so many ways to go through a fund. I believe because as
Yeah.
I was a formerly former young leader to United Nations, yeah, UN also. There are areas where UN supports, right? So this is how we can get a fund. And there are so many ways and areas actually.
Yeah.
We just need to figure out the right way to approach them, and there is no fund scarcity. Just
Yeah.
you need to know the way.
This is an interesting question, but let's get it this way. Let's assume that there is no government support. World Taekwondo funds is not there. Would you still continue with this field?
Yeah, of course, of course. Like right now, I'm not getting a direct money for advocating
Yeah.
women. And besides that, if you are curious about how do I manage the funds,
Yes.
even for my survival, the words MBA stands for. The MBA stands up to that. Like I have
Yeah.
initiated a business
Okay.
myself,
Right.
and not a very big business, but I'm in the initial phase of improving business. That's where the MBA exists, and utilizing my MBA skills. And out of that, I'm supporting sports, and with my knowledges, with my expertise of area, with my networks, to promote. Number one, to promote the sports. Number two, advocate and empowerment, and yeah, this is
Yep.
how I manage actually. So I
That's
don't have to worry for the things,
that's good. I mean,
financial
that's
things.
passion right there. So there are a lot of people who always wait to be pushed or assisted or funded before they go about their things, before they go about their businesses. But I think you've shown us that this is something passionate to you. Yes. support is fine, but without support, I still have to get it going. And now, can you share with us or with me some of the medium through which you've expressed your concerns or you've been invited as a guest speaker about activism and humanitarian services through sport? And this one, what I'll do is because I've read most of the things you've done online, I did a little due diligence. So I would just mention the platform where you've spoken or you've been invited to speak as a guest, and then you tell us some of the, in brief, some of the things that you spoke about. So the first one is you've spoken about it already, which is the World Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation support to Nepal. You've since the beginning of 2016 when the earthquake struck, and so the second one is your work with disabled athletes, especially with the Nepal Taekwondo, Para Taekwondo. What do you do? What are some of the things that you get busy with so far as this is concerned? In brief.
All right. So regarding the para was a very new concept for even in World Taekwondo, right? It was lately developed. And meanwhile, we had some of the athletes who were para and they were passionate about Taekwondo. And at that time, what we didn't know what was the definition and how would you continue and how can we adopt that kind of changeability, or is that possible to teach physically actually differently able people, right? So they're able. It's not that they're physically disabled means they're disabled. They're able, but differently.
Now let's look at this one. You were a guest speaker at the UNOSDP Youth Leadership Program and the International Day of Sports for Development and Peace, where the Olympic Award was presented to the United Nations. I think so. What did you talk about? What were some of the issues you raised? I know this has been telecasted worldwide, and a lot of people, especially in Nepal, have seen this and interviewed you several times. So, what were some of the things that you talk about that you think they're global that the world should know about?
Yeah, of course. As I was activist and working for the sports and as a tool, Taekwondo as a tool, right?
Yeah.
Taekwondo as a tool, and you after working for humanitarian projects and after working for like para and figuring out the ways. I didn't work so long for para, but I contributed my knowledge and within the system actually. Like I used to work voluntarily with them for managerial parts and research things.
Yeah.
And after that, like with this role, one day one of my seniors asked me to apply for UN things. I was not sure that am I selected for UN, am I up to that. I was not sure about myself, and apparently I got selected in 2014 and I was entitled as a young leader to United Nations, as there is a 601 young leaders over the world through UN and for specifically for sports actually.
Yeah.
And in 2015, after the earthquake, there was Mr. Limke, who was a special advisor to Ban Ki-moon to UN regarding sports, right? And he visited Nepal. At that time, I was contributing voluntarily for a para team, and he visited there. And he had throughout that time, we were in a research process, like what to do, what not to do with the para.
Yep.
And during the time he visited, and I asked my seniors, can I make him also be available in our so then monitor this Nepal Taekwondo things. And then my seniors approved it, and they were happy to welcome him. And he visited us and how the national team is going through a training process and how the para things are taking care, or how at the time our anti-building was in a process of restructuring, and he visited everything. And after throughout that, maybe he convinced with me, or maybe he finds some potentials on me, or I don't know what is. It's up to him. But meanwhile, after the visit, we had to make a report regarding what we do. We have to report every time, like every year, what we are doing. And we were doing it, actually. We were doing it since 2014. Like they were checking on us timely, like what are you guys doing, this and that. And during the time, I was regularly in touch with them, updating what I'm doing in the sports in Nepal after returning back to Nepal with the training. And I got a call and email, are you available for this date? And yeah, I simply say that yeah, I'm available, and okay, this program is going to be held on, and we want you to be the this, and are you ready? And of course, it was a great opportunities for me because I had to answer the country like, why you were in sports? Like sports is not a people like you. You are educated and you're pretty, and why you have to be there? Like I used to get a comment, but it was just my passion because as I told you, my whole family was involved in sports, so I could not it will make it apart from me. And so I was like, whatsoever, even the society doesn't accept me as a woman doing sports, I will continue it because at first I have to live with happiness,
Yep.
like so I choose my happiness rather than the concern of the society.
Yes.
But I use it as to educate to the society who were questioning on my skills, on my ability. And later, after 2016, as they find me in a global platform and representing recognized organizations internationally like World Taekwondo, UN itself, they were so convinced, like, okay, from as a woman also through the sports, there's a possibilities. So
Fantastic.
it
Yeah.
changed all the
Perception. Yeah.
viewpoints,
Yep.
yeah, all the perceptions of my community and nationally. And through that, I started being noticed globally, and I'm more connected to the global sports forum after that. And throughout 2016, I became like a recognized face to my country, and I was awarded as the first female Olympic speaker by National Olympic Museum Committee. And started recognizing in the sports areas in that way. And with my sports active role in sports, people gave me the name of sports activist. And by working with the ministry, working with the Nepal Olympic Committee, teaching, taking classes, they like, yeah, definitely with my degree, I turned out as an administrator in sports. And like I'm a fourth dan as a Taekwondo practitioner, and I worked in World Taekwondo in the various projects, and I help them like advocating women with through World Taekwondo.
Yep.
And
That's
yeah, and this is how my sports journey was actively in a seen
well.
way.
I think this is amazing that you did not even know that you were doing activism, and people have to
Yeah,
um, accord that to you. That's impressive. And this question is quite simple. What do you hope to accomplish as a sport activist when it's all said and done in this field? And if someone asks you, like,
actually.
tell me, what do you, in brief, what do you want to accomplish when you finally said, okay, now I'm done. I've trained a lot of people. I've inspired a lot of people. They can take over now.
Like I'm not doing this for I wanted to, like most importantly, I'm doing it very naturally following my guts.
Yeah.
I'm doing the things not because I want something from them, or okay, I'm advocating from organization through organization, not because I will get a position in the organizations. Just I follow my beliefs that I should, as a human beings, as a woman, as a way I suffered, I doesn't want other women to suffer throughout the process. It was my first motivations to work in such a way, and like to make an easy way for other women to
Yeah.
get the thing that I get was very hard, very, very devastating emotionally, mentally, morally. It was not an easy journey.
Yeah.
And with this process, knowing through all that, people started seeing me as a good potential of a leader, and some of them also recognize me as a women's leader in sports. But I don't know if I'm a leader, but I'm doing it through my guts, not for the position. So
Yeah.
let's see how far I can go with this.
Okay. I think you kind of like touch the next question, but I still ask you, how far can you go in this career? Like, can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life on Earth?
Yeah, I think until my sixth sense work properly, I will be continuing it.
Okay. And can someone make, I know this is a very sloppy question, but do you think can someone make a living out of sport activism?
With the sports or without sports, you mean?
I mean, like getting into sport activism, like yourself, and then Omer Asif, as you already know, you know Omer from Pakistan, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
who is also a sports activist just like yourself, focusing on
Right.
education and vulnerable youth. People like you, can someone make a living out of sport activism? A young lady walks to
Mm-hmm.
you, maybe from Nepal or somewhere, and say,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Romy, I like what you're doing. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be like you, or I want to
Mm-hmm.
be on this path. I don't want to do any other work, just to do this. What would be your advice to the person? I think maybe this will be the best question.
I would be saying like, please, you should. If you want, you should take an actions. And whenever you start taking action, there is always a way for what you want. That
Mm,
is what I learned throughout the journey, after all the ups and downs. Like today, my major area is to advocate women, advocate youths who
yeah,
wants to be me, right? Showing them a right way before they lost their way in
yeah,
a career point. So with me, with my experience, like I think I'm like open book. Like how is my journey? People
yeah,
knows it very well, so they can learn and get so many ideas how they can regulate, or they may not know what they want, but they still want to do something,
yeah.
and they I can be a beautiful example for them as well,
Yep, that sounds
right?
interesting. Yep. The reason why I'm saying that is that that the field is a very passionate field, but
Hmm.
often, just like you've talked about the funding, sometimes it's quite complex. You may not get
Right.
support and all that, and that could
Hmm.
be an issue. And that's why I asked that question, that if somebody wants to be an activist and doesn't want to do anything, what would be your advice to the person? But I think
Yeah.
you explained that pretty well, that they should follow their heart, and
Yeah,
sometimes you don't
exactly.
know what the
Because
future holds.
not only in the sports. Like sometimes we may go to bankruptcy in our personal life as well, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
have to be highly wise and skillful to find a right way to get the money,
yeah,
right? For that, some of us do a job. For that, some of us to consult. Some
yeah,
of the us we own some money from our friends.
yeah,
So there is a way. We have to figure it out.
yeah.
I hope I
And
answered the
I
question.
think you did. I mean, there are no wrong or right answers, like I always tell my students. Um, Sometimes what may be right in the east may be right in the west, maybe wrong in the west, and like that.
Right. True. Very, very agreed.
Circumstances make things happen differently. My next
Right.
question is, you spoken a lot about ups and downs, but I think there've been a lot of the ups, which the things that you've been able to achieve over the years. But are there some challenges? You spoke about some things you've gone through, and a few things. Are there some challenges that you've encountered along the way that you think this was a huge challenge, but looking back, I'm glad I was able to overcome? If you could share.
Yeah. For the things like for those things in a while. I have to say that as a glass ceiling, cultural boundaries, stereotypes, and
Yeah,
not accepting women in a professional field was challenges. And before I used to think that it was only issues to me, but after the research things, I figured it out like it is not only up to me. It's all the women in the leadership positions are facing the same journey, and I think that should not be these days. Beginning, I used to say it was my challenges, but after knowing in detail, I take it very commonly. Okay, it happens, and it is a part of the process. So I won't consider it as that the challenges. But at that time, I was like emotionally abused because I don't know what to do, what to say, where to go, who can be a right person to address my issues, right? So I was lost throughout the way, and I had to make my speech in a way of traveling the plane because of not a proper management system. So these days I considered it as a part of process. So if there was not those tough situation, I would not be who I am today.
yep, that's very interesting one over there. Somebody told me that how do we call it? Is it what? A good sailor. A smooth sea doesn't make a good sailor. There always have to be a hurdles for the sailor to
Right.
overcome in order to be called the good sailor. So the last question is this. What is your advice to aspiring young girls, women, or people in general, especially across the globe and Nepal, of course, because that's where you come from, who desire to become a sports administrator, leader, or manager? And what would be your advice to them?
My first advice is I did what I want, and you can as well, right? I want to say start believing yourself and start taking actions for what you want. Don't just dream, just do it right now. Just do it. Take an actions, and there should not be, as you said, there's nothing called wrong and there's nothing called right. Give respect, learn respect, treat respectfully, be a human taking any kind of decisions. Don't harm. Most another motivations for me is not to harm anyone during the process of what I'm doing through the chains. And I believe that I should not harm anyone, because at the end of the time my ultimate goal of a life is, yeah, to die in a fish. That's it. So I
Yep.
want to enjoy the work, and whenever there is ups and downs, please praise yourself and move towards the self-love. Don't get demotivated, don't get depressed, and don't get like I can't do. You can. Ups and downs is a part of process, and take support and learn the process and take it easy. To if not today, tomorrow you will achieve what you want. Definitely.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. This is three fantastics. And it's been a very long journey we had this morning. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Romee Giri for the opportunity to share and inspire the world. She's been beaming across the world for the past, I think, 8 to 10 years, sharing what sport activism means. And she has overcome a lot of adversaries along her way, as she recounted. And I believe if you are somebody contemplating, should I still be in sports? Is there a way for me? Is there a career there for me? Here you are. It is possible. Somebody did it, and you can do it. On that note, I want to say thank you for the time. I am very grateful, and I believe all those watching are also grateful, and they've taken one or two out of this. I don't know if you have any comments to say, or
Yeah, I believe I said so many things that what I did, right?
yeah,
So everyone has to have their own way of living life, and there's everywhere possibilities is everywhere. Just you need to figure out what to do and what not to do at the same time.
yep.
And yeah, you can, and you can.
Okay then. So
Thank
here
you,
you are.
Derek.
Thank you too, and hopefully
It was
we
great.
get to meet in person. Yeah. So
Thank
have
you,
a great
Derek. It
time.
was a really great time. Yeah. And thank you for choosing me as one of your, again, speaker
That's
to
my
your
pleasure.
podcast. And it was good to know as you as well. And glad seeing you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Derek.
Thank you. Have a great time once
Bye.
again. Bye.